Hello? Are you there? Hi. It's Anna from the Heartbeat Hive, and today I'm going to talk to you about intuitive productivity for creative people. Okay, so why creative people? Well, I am a creative coach and I work with a lot of musicians, artists, calligraphers, people who think outside the box, right? And a lot of times, we see something shiny. I say we lovingly because I'm one of these people I'm talking about. And we see something shiny and we're like, ooh, look at that. Even though we're supposed to be doing something else. Intuitive productivity. I want to say there's some people out there talking about this, but there's a lot of focus on like apps and I don't know, second brain, spreadsheets, all the things that you need to track. And sometimes you just gotta reel it back in and think about what is going to work for you. Not what works for everybody else or what everyone else is doing and their apps and their shiny new toys and their bullet journals that are perfect. Just kidding. You need to figure out what works for you. And a lot of time that comes down to trying things, of course. But these things that I'm going to talk about are kind of a little more on the personal side. Okay, so what's the first one? The first one is know your value and your values. So why does that relate to productivity? Well, if you don't know your value, you might find yourself doing things that aren't going to return on the investment of your energy, which is yours alone, and is exactly what it sounds like. It's an investment. So when you are giving your time to things and people, maybe relationships that aren't feeding you in a certain way, and that's your goal with those things, then you got to switch gears and you got to reprioritize. And that comes from knowing your value. So I'm one of those people that's very particular about time, especially my time. So let's say that somebody is hanging out or even in a business meeting and they're like constantly on their phone. For me, I'm just like, you could just go be on your phone somewhere else. Like, I don't have to be in the room for you to do that. So yeah, that's because I really value my time, and so I wouldn't be doing that in their presence either. So because I value their time. All right, so that's one side of the value equation. We're still on number one. Okay, stick with me. So the second part of that is to know your values. Okay, so I value punctuality because I value time. So that is a value for me. Some people might say it's a characteristic. Okay, we're not going to get into semantics here. Just going with the general stuff. If you value honesty, then you are going to demonstrate honesty, right? And when you're working, say with other people collaboratively, if you feel like they're not being honest with you, or maybe the contract isn't clear, that you've set aside, or the agreement, then there is a element of honesty that is going to impede, and you're going to feel like, am I doing the right thing? Am I, is this a good business partnership, or should I take on this project as a freelancer? Okay, so knowing your values is really important, and there are tons of ways for you to identify those, but we're going to move on to number 2 in this list. All right, so this is sort of similar. Number 2 is recognize your preferences. Okay, so your preferences, I mean as in like working preferences. Because if your preferred method of working is at a desk, but you're trying to work with a laptop in your car, then that's not going to work out. sometimes we got to do stuff like that because your internet is crazy or whatever. You have to sit in your car and get Wi-Fi. I'm not talking from personal experience or anything. So yeah, recognize your preferences. So you prefer to only do your highest cognitive work like between 2 and 4 p.m., then don't schedule a meeting with somebody where you got to make huge decisions at 8 a.m. because it's not going to work out, right? So that's a preference. Now you might have to do that from time to time, but knowing your preference, especially when working with other people or scheduling out your day in a loose or rigid fashion, is very important for you to remain productive. Once you recognize your preferences, life becomes, I don't know, for me it became a little bit easier in me knowing what I will and won't do, and what I prefer and what I'm willing to compromise. Okay? All right, so number 3. I feel like one of those YouTubers. Number 3. Acknowledge your triggers. Everybody's got them, okay? There's no shame. Mentioned before, I value people's time. So a trigger for me might be if I'm spending time with someone and they're on their phone, I might get a little like, do they really care if I'm here or not? Should I be doing something else? You know, like that might be a trigger for me. Or let's say you talk with someone who uses a lot of cuss words. It's a trigger for some people. They're like, why do we have to bring these words into this conversation? We're just talking about coffee. So you might be triggered like in a way that isn't like you're gonna lash out at them or anything like that. You're just thinking like, what am I actually listening to here? Is the message clear that I need to hear from this person? Am I being distracted by these words that are around what I'm trying to listen to? So that might be a trigger for you. You might get turned off. I know that I have watched some interviews on YouTube of like motivational people or, podcasts that are on video. And when someone that I didn't expect to use those type of words so frequently in the interview, it just happens like a lot. I have to decide for myself like, okay, now that I see that that's there, it's been a little bit of a trigger for me. Do I want to continue listening, or am I just like, I'll just find something else? Like maybe in the different interview they have different language. I don't like respect them less or more or whatever. I just know that it's a trigger of mine. All right, so knowing your triggers, and if you write them down, then it's just easier to identify them. They become more and more clear, and you're not going to focus on them, but you might ask why. Why is that? Why does that set me off? Like why? And you might learn something about yourself. And we all have something to learn, don't we? All right, number 4, clarify your framework. So this happens a lot with people who maybe are like really do-gooders and givers and like to help people. They can take on a task or a project and want to help other people and not understand the scope or the framework of what they're trying to accomplish. And so that's not clear as well. So by clarifying and being clear about that, then the people that you work with or you in your schedule, your mindset will know, okay, I really only have a week to accomplish this. And when you're working with other people, clarifying is a really good thing. And I was always one of those students that was like, I should just ask questions, like, yeah, the rest of the class might think I'm a little lame, but I don't care. I'm the one trying to get a good grade. I'll ask all the darn questions I want to. So with that, you want to clarify your framework. So you get up and let's say you're not feeling so good and you got to accomplish something. So you might say, all right, I'm going to get this done, but I'm going to do it between 2 and 4 when I'm in like top-notch mode. I've already eaten and that's when I'm going to accomplish it. I'm not going to go past 4 o'clock. That's it. That's my framework. I'm going to work when I'm optimal, and I have 2 hours to accomplish this one thing. And then you got to stick to it. All right, so the next one, commit to your tools. Now, this relates to productivity a lot, okay? So there's a trend in some corners of YouTube and the world that the next best shiny ass tool is like the focus, okay? But I have seen some amazing people and known some amazing people who write everything down. They carry around index cards. I just watched a poetry reading of an amazing poet and asked them, I was like, hey, how do you collect your like creative ideas? And it was 2 poets. So one of them was like, I carry index cards. And I was like, cool, old school, like it. And the other one was like, I used to carry a cassette tape recorder in my car, and I would record stuff. Which, if you think about it, even now, not messing with your phone, but having a tape recorder just to press record, sounds great, right? So that's what works for them. And guess what? These 2 poets, they crank out stuff like crazy, and I really respect them. I will link them below, okay? So when you commit to your tools, you're not saying this is the perfect tool. Don't get that confused. You're not saying I'm going to use this tool forever. You're saying this tool works for me and it helps me be more productive. When you get caught up in the shiny object syndrome or the grass is greener, like that tool might help me more, blah, blah, blah. Like, what you're doing is taking away time from you being productive a lot of the time. Not all the time. Not all the time. There's some great apps and great tools out there. But there's a learning curve to every one of them. Whether the learning curve is like 15 minutes or a couple hours, depending on getting it set up and all the notifications right and transferring from your notebooks all the way to the app and all that. Which, yeah, there's definitely a process for that, and that's awesome, but that can take time. And so the confusion is that a newer app or a newer tool is going to make you more productive. No. You make you more productive. Because I know this. You can buy all the nice, expensive tools and apps in the world and have the best tracking apps and watches and everything, alarms, and not use them, not listen to them when they go off, not organize them, not maintain them, and your productivity is going to go down, right? So your intuition is going to tell you, is this tool right for me? Now, it's cool to like experiment and try different apps and stuff, but once you find a couple that really work for you, don't go looking, don't go chasing waterfalls, okay? Like, just stick with it. Write them down, commit, okay? Commit. Did you hear me? Commit. Commit to your tools. See how they go. Give yourself a nice long period of actually using them, tweaking how you use them, and then make a decision. But if it doesn't work out in like 2 days, that's on you, okay? Or you end up going back to an old one, that's fine too. All I'm saying is commit, okay? Commit to the tools that work for you, and you'll know. Everything will kind of click together, or you'll revert back to a certain tool. So I'll give you an example. I went digital with my Google Calendar, and I really love Google Keep and like all that stuff, right? Because it syncs and it's old school and it's color coded and I need colors, okay? But I still have a paper planner. That's just how it is, and I keep great notes in there, and it works for me. Do I double up sometimes? Yeah, maybe. Is it more work? Not really, because I have the digital as like the master, and I have the paper for notes that expand upon the master that I want to write. And if I lose my phone, hopefully that never happens, I have a source where I could piece things together and it works for me. All right, so number 6, be consistent with your effort. What do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day. I don't know. Like, it takes time, okay? So don't buy in to this like immediacy culture where you feel like I'm not getting results now, because it just doesn't work that way. Even though, like, let's say somebody stops smoking cold turkey. Now, cold turkey is a real thing, right? But I guarantee that person had thoughts over and over and over again. I should stop smoking. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop smoking. Like, then they actually act on it, right? So that change, even though it looks like that from the outside, didn't happen overnight. And there is definitely a culture right now of immediacy and convenience, and there's a frustration that is showing up, especially right now in isolation during COVID times, quarantine times, that if you don't see results, then you're not efforting enough. Or if you want something, go and get it. Yes, go and get it, but know that it doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. And anybody who's telling you it does, you might want to check on them. You might want to check on that source. It's sort of like, think, McFly, think. When something seems too good to be true, like, there's a reason for that, okay? So be consistent with your efforts and know that you're going to get there. You're going to get there if you stick with it and you commit and you listen to that intuition inside of you saying, yes, keep going. But it's not always going to look the way that you think it is. It's not always going to go as fast as you think it is. And you know what I'm saying. All right, so let's review all 6 steps of intuitive productivity for creative people. Know your value and your values. Recognize your preferences. Acknowledge your triggers. Clarify your framework. Commit to your tools and be consistent with your effort. All right, that's it for today. I hope you have gained something from this. It seems really basic, these things I'm talking about, but you'd be surprised at how many people I coach and work with who are all caught up in the complicated layer upon layer systems, processes, tools, apps, that they're forgetting to listen to themselves and to do what works and to keep doing what works to be able to reach their goals and become the person they want to become. Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Heartbeat Hive, and I hope to create more videos for you soon. Bye.